guys, welcome back. In this video we'll be going over while loops and how we use them and when we use them. I'll be trying to keep this video shorter than usual, so I won't be making a project, but I'll explain everything about while loops you need to know. In the last one we did, pretty sure, well, the two back we did for loops, so I'll be showing you the difference and let's get right into it. If you found this video helpful, make sure to subscribe and like, and comment below if you've got any questions. So there's two types of loops. There's I'd say incremental loop. Although both of them incremental. I say both of them incremental, but one of them is more incremental, and the other one is conditional. And basically, this one works on a set amount of times you tell it to go up by, and then it stops. And this one is more of a conditional. So we know for loop is conditional. So for I in range 10, because we're telling it to go up by 10. Print I. So we're telling this script to go up by 10. So we're explicitly telling Python to make this for loop go by 10. But what if we wanted to have it where it's a conditional rather than us telling you how much time we should go up by? So instead we use a while loop. And how we set a while loop is we first write while, and then we write our conditional just like as we write our conditional as if. So if name equals something, we can do if while, we can do while name equals let's say Jim, and then name equals Jim. It's gonna be around strings, and then we can do print hello, and I'm gonna import something so it doesn't get spammed. So import time. So basically I'm using a module. I'll be covering this in a later video. So I'm going to time.sleep 1 second. So I don't want this to go fully. I'll show you why. So let's run this, and we get hello, and then hello again, and you see it doesn't stop because name doesn't ever change to Jim. So name will always be Jim, so this will always run. So let's see what happens if we get rid of this time sleep, and then we run this, and you can now see this is an infinite loop. And this is one big bug most beginners make. They accidentally create an infinite loop, and this loop doesn't stop unless the memory on your PC or laptop runs out. So instead what we can do is we do time.sleep again, and then we'll do 1 second, and what we can do is we can create our own index, our own increment counter. Because all of this is conditional, we can mix them together to make it increment. So we can do where I is equal to 0. So we do I outside of the while loop because we can't do it inside. Or we can do counter. I think counter would be a better name. And we don't get rid of this. We do counter plus equal 1, and then we print counter. I think we should actually put that after the print. No, we leave it before. And then we just run this. I see 1, 2, 3, and it's gonna go down. And what we can do is we can have it where if counter is equal to 10, name equals Jack. So I'll do it like 0.1 seconds so it doesn't take so long. And yeah, see, the loop stops when it goes to 10, and let's say instead of changing the name, we can just do break, which is a command where we tell the loop to get out of its loop. So we're back in here, and we can have it now where if counter is equal to 10, well, that's pretty much a for loop, a while loop, so it works in a conditional. So a good example of this would be, let's make a good example. So let's say we had, let me get rid of these, I'll keep the import. Let's say we had a while loop and we wanted, but one thing I want to demonstrate before we go on. So we saw this, right? We saw this code and we saw the conditional. So just like an if statement, this while loop will only run if this conditional is true, and if it's not true, the while loop breaks and then it goes to the next line. So we can just print loop broken, and it should say 1 to 10 the loop broken. So once this name has been overridden, or we specifically tell the loop to break, it goes to the second line. So instead of this, what we can do is most programmers do while true, and then we do print looping. And what's happening here is we created an endless loop, so this will always be an endless loop. There's nothing we're testing, so this is gonna always be a this is always going to be an endless loop. So how we get out of this loop is we have to manually break. So we break like that, so it's going to end in the first loop, first what do you call it, index. So how we can do it is yet again the if we do counter plus equals 1, if counter is equal to 10, we do break. You see, we can't change the name, because then if we change the name here, the loop will still carry on, so we have to break the loop and separate so it's clearer. Run this, and you see, maybe I should add control clear. We add time. Now it goes down and then loop is broken. So that's one way of using a loop, so we can forcefully make it do an endless loop and have it do its command, and whenever we have a set something we want it to be set, we can break it. So I'll show you one good example of this. So we can have it where we have a while loop, so we can do while true again, and then we can have okay, we'll make it like a calculate, so we can have it in, so we do number equals input, enter number, and then we'll have original as 0, and then we can have it where we do we basically do original plus equals number, and then if I never explain what plus equal does, it's basically original is basically doing this because we want to add 0 plus 0, so 0 will be changed to 0 plus number. So 0, this is originally 0, so 0 will be changed to 0 plus the number, and then that equation will be changed to that equation plus that number. It makes sense if you test it around a bit, but I don't know if I explained that previously. So we do origin plus equal number, and then what we can do from here is ask the user input break ready to done, and then y/n, and we do dot upper so we can test it better, and then we can do if ask equals y, we can break, and if once the loop is broken, instead of printing out loop broken, I want to print out the original number we got, so we get original, and then we can test out this code. We enter a number, let's say 3, done, no. We enter another number, let's say 9, done, we say yes, and we get that number. Shouldn't be that. Let me see why he's saying that. Original is equal. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I made a logical error here. So let's see step by step what's happening. We have this while loop going on here, and this while loop is gonna loop infinitely, and then we set an original to 0, and then we ask the user for a number, we update the origin, and we ask if the user wants to um, wants to break the loop or not, and then this tests if it breaks. But once this line of code is done, it goes back to line 6, and what happens here is the origin number gets this line updates the original, but then when we go back to line 6, original goes back to 0. So even though we're updating it here, once we go back to line 6, the origin gets set back to the default, which is 0. So how we can fix this is we can have origin outside of the while loop, so we know it'll never go back to 0 since it's outside of the while loop. So what's going to happen now is it's going to go to number, to 9, to 10, to 12, to 13, then it's going to go back to 7 because original equals 0 is not in the while loop anymore. So let's run this. We get 3, no, 9, yes, and now we get 12. So that's a simple calculator we made. We can obviously do it for subtraction. If you want to do it for division and multiplication, you do have to do original divided by number or times by the number. Let's try this. Number, we'll do 3 again, and then 9, and we get, this one's a bit buggy too. Yeah, it's a bit buggy, but the whole point was to make a addition calculator for here, so it's fine with how it is right now. We do another test. 6, no, 2, no, 9, and yes, and then 6 plus 2 is 8, 8 plus 9 is 17, clear, and then we've got a basic calculator. So that's basically an example of why we would use the while loop here, because let's say if we use a for loop instead, let me get rid of this print original. If you use a for loop instead, with a for loop, we don't know how much times the user wants to enter a number, so we're hard coding 10 in here, which isn't great if we're in this scenario. So we copy and paste this. So now what's happening here? This program is forced to run 5 times, or it gets broken if the user says yes here. So what's more powerful here is we've got the security of this program running for infinite, and if the user wants to get out the program, then he can always say yes here. So that's basically the basics of while loops. Thinking if there's any other cases where I should go over. I don't think so. So you can play around with this, obviously, and this import time isn't that important for now. So don't get confused when you see that. Just make sure you understand this while loop, and that's it. I hope you found this video helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.